Today we're going to discuss upon whether or not H4 EAD will be revoked, and if so, what will be the actions, how the process will work, and what are the necessary steps people need to take. Emily, we don't see Trump directly commenting on the H4 EAD though. Where is this rumor coming up that H4 EAD could be revoked?
Well, first, I would say we have to look at his prior administration where he did intend to propose a regulation to eliminate the H4 EAD. The regulation was never actually proposed, but it was on the agenda for them to do. So we can expect that that will happen again. But we also need to look at who the advisors are for the Trump administration. And Stephen Miller is the one that's going to be guiding the immigration side of it. And he is already very anti-immigration. He's anti-illegal immigration, but also anti-legal immigration. He wants to reduce all legal immigration. He is not a fan of the H-1B. You can see that from some of his tweets on X. Which means he's also not a fan of giving EADs to H-4 holders. So I would definitely expect that we're going to see an attempt to eliminate H-4 EAD work authorization in the coming 4 years.
And what arguments can we make? I mean, when they try to remove the DACA with 1 million green cards, though, then there were some lawsuits because of that. They were unable to remove it. What other things that you think so will be there where we can prevent the Trump administration to take the H-4 EAD off?
Well, when they do finally propose the regulation, there will be a notice and comment period for the public to make comments on it. So it will be important for people to comment on that regulation and explain why we need the H-4 EAD, what benefits the country sees from having this option. And so hopefully the public comments would be so much in support of keeping the H-4 EAD that they would not move forward with eliminating it. But even if they do move forward with eliminating it, once a final regulation is announced with plans to take effect, that's when litigation may be an option for H-4 EAD holders, or their employers could potentially come together and file a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security, claiming that the elimination of the H-4 EAD is not proper. Either they're not following the proper regulatory guidance, they didn't comply with the notice and comment requirements, or that it is not in line with the statute. And that's where it gets a little bit difficult, because the statute, which is what is set by Congress, does not provide for EADs for H-4 holders. They only provide work authorization for L-2 spouses of L-1 visa holders. So that's where we may face difficulty, but it's definitely worth fighting for that. The H-4 EAD is very important to people who are waiting in the backlog and don't have the option to receive the green card anytime in the near future. So we definitely need to fight for that.
Really, there's constitution which was written almost 250 years ago, and there is law which is passed by the Congress, which Parliament in United States, we call it as Congress. And there is regulations. That means that there is a certain process where they issue notice and comment period, after which the regulations, it does go through the Administrative Practice Act law, which they comply with it, and then they publish it. It becomes a final regulations, and then we have these executive orders, Emily, issued by the President of the United States. Now, so this H-4 EAD, where does it fall under? And if the Trump administration were to remove this one, what is the process they will take it?
Yeah, this was done through the regulatory process, so it's not set out in the statute. They had to implement a regulation in order to provide for this type of EAD, which means that the Trump administration will have to go through the regulatory process in order to eliminate it. So it's not something that they can immediately do overnight. It will take time. Typically, the regulatory process can take anywhere from months to years. I mean, I think if I recall, when they were creating the H-4 EAD, I think it took 5 years for it to actually be finalized. So this is going to take time. They're going to have to publish a proposed regulation, accept those comments over a 60-day period generally. Then they have to go through the comments and give their reasons why they're still proceeding with this plan, even if the comments are in support of keeping it, and then issue a final regulation. That final regulation will take effect a certain date in the future, usually 45 to 60 days after the regulation has been published. So we will definitely have advance notice of this coming. So do you think if they actually implement this, are they going to be able to revoke existing H-4 EADs, or is it just new applications that won't be accepted anymore?
Most probably it's going to be new applications, Emily. Most probably it'll be the renewals that will be stopping it. Most probably it's the new H4 EADs that will stop, not the already granted H4 EADs. I don't think so they will go there, is my opinion, because it's going to be very tough to go through the Administrative Practice Act under which to remove the existing EADs off. It's going to be only going forward, is my expectation. There's one exception, Emily, that is there in this, whatever you've spoken right now. The Congress can still pass a law banning the H4 EADs. That can be done in 1 week's time, or probably 1 month's time. Now, most probably the Congress may not be, they may not have the Republicans don't have the filibuster passing through the law in the filibuster, which requires 60 votes in the Senate to pass a bill. Most probably they may not have it because the Republicans don't have 60 votes there. That exception is there, but if it doesn't go to the Congress, though, based on what your comments, I could safely assume that it will take at least 1 year if this administration wants to focus heavily on H4 EAD and work on it. It will take at least 1 year for them to get anything done through regulatory process, if not more. That's the minimum thing, and that too only going forward is what I'm thinking, Emily.
So what should H-4 EAD holders be considering now? Should they be looking for different visa categories where they can work if this were to happen?
I mean, if the H4 EAD person was never on H1B before, they should definitely consider filing in the H1B lottery in the coming March of 2025. Now, there are ways, even after you get the H1B approval, you work for a month, you can convert back to H4 EAD by just going to Mexico and coming back, what we call is Margarita switch, that you can work through. But counting towards H1B number is absolutely essential for the H4 EAD person. The other steps that I want these H4 EAD persons to do it, irrespective of whether they have been counted the H1B number before or whether they're contemplating on getting counted at the H1B number at a later date, which is March of 2025 or further, they should try to file a labor and I-140 for themselves. And people may ask a question, no, my husband's priority date is 2016. What good my priority date in 2024 or 2025 will do? I will never get the green card with mine, most probably with my husband. You may be right on that particular aspect, but here is the thing is that if you have the capacity of getting the H1B, if you have the capacity of having an I-140, if your spouse at any point of time loses a job, you can convert that person into H1B. And if the H4 EAD exists at that point of time, you can even get him the H4 EAD at that point of time. So getting the I-140, getting the H1B definitely is the best step that you can do at this point of time. As families, though, people need to plan for contingency, though. As we have seen, Emily has pointed out that, yes, the last administration tried to remove the H4 EAD. So people need to sit down and sort out the plan. What is if the H4 EAD will be removed? If both people are working right now and you all of a sudden will have only one job coming in the salary, what would you do? Will that be a problem? The other thing people may want to consider is to see if you can extend the H4 EAD right now. Let's say, for example, your H1B, H4 is expiring in 2026, February or March of February of 2026. Can you file the H1B extension right now? As people say that you can only file 6 months before. No, there are some exceptions. If it's an amendment plus extension, you could file the H1, H4, and EAD right now and get it approved all the way from all the way to 2028. Until 2028, you can get the H4 EAD. That may keep you safe for a long period of time. You may have a very little time left over after the Trump administration leaves. Remember, Trump stays only for 4 years. He cannot be re-elected. He cannot be contesting again in the president election, so he'll be gone. So yeah, you may be staying safe until 2028, a certain period of time in 2028, because you can apply amendment plus extension and get it extended all the way to 2028.
What about H4 EAD holders who've maybe started a business during this time? And what do they do if their H4 EAD is eliminated? Do they need to worry about, will they be able to continue to operate the business?
Definitely, they cannot operate the business. They can be the owner of the company, but they cannot operate the business. So they may have to find somebody who is a green card holder or somebody who is going to manage the business. And you can own, let's say, for example, you have a restaurant and you are now managing the restaurant on H4 EAD. And now, H4, if the H4 EAD is taken, though, you can be the owner of the company, but there must be a manager who is a US citizen or green card holder that can manage the company, or you can even sell that company to somebody else. That option is there. Yes, that contingency plan need to be discussed, need to have that action plan. Plan B should be there for you if the H4 EAD, and you should plan all of those things right now, not at the time when the regulations are going through.
Yeah, and I think people also should be prepared, even if the H4 EAD regulation to eliminate it doesn't happen or it gets delayed or whatever. Be aware that there are other ways that the Trump administration can harm the H4 EAD. And we saw that during the last Trump administration. The first was them uncoupling the H4 and the H4 EAD from the H1B so that you would get your H1B approved in premium processing, and then the H4 and H4 EAD took months to process. And the H4 EAD does not have the same automatic EAD extension that other EADs do, because it only works if your H4 has already been extended. But if your H4 is also pending and your EAD is also pending and your old EAD has expired, you have to stop working during that meantime. And so people should be aware that the settlement agreement based on one of the lawsuits Stephen Brown from our office was involved in, that forced USCIS to rebundle those applications together, it actually expires in January 2025. So after January 2025, the administration is not, USCIS is not going to be required to continue bundling. So we may see that same problem happen again with the delays in H4 EADs, causing people to lose their employment authorization and lose their job due to that gap. And we also saw biometrics for I-539s before, which also caused delays in the H4 and H4 EAD. We definitely expect extreme vetting to be back with the Trump administration, and so biometrics could be back as part of that, unfortunately. So just plan for what you would do in the event that your EAD gets delayed and you can't work while you're waiting for the renewal to come through.
Anything else, Emily?
Nope, I think we've covered everything, and we will definitely keep you posted on that through our regular Tuesday live on YouTube, and we'll give you any breaking news as that comes up regarding H4 EADs to keep everyone informed and give you suggestions or ways that we can fight back against these changes.
Thank you very much for tuning.